So the prosecution has responded to the notebook and the sweep drama that Diddy's team has going on. They're trying to get the case dismissed because they feel like Diddy's civil rights were violated because someone from the jail took pictures of his notepad and gave it to the prosecution. Diddy's team is saying this is a violation of attorney-client privilege. However, the notebook did not have the word legal on it, so now it's being left up for interpretation and the judge has to make that decision. They pretty much found out in the notebook that Diddy allegedly planned on witness tampering. He wrote stuff in the book about possibly paying off Kalina from Dirty Money. And his team said, yo, that was private business. They should not have looked at that stuff. Now, I read this document and I must admit it does make me feel a little uncomfortable because I'm not sure what's right or wrong in this scenario. So there's 4 players in this document and I'm going to explain to you who they are. We have Christy Slavic, who is an AUSA prosecuting Diddy. We have a lady supervisor who is the prosecution's team supervisor. Then we have supervisor 2, who is not directly tied into the prosecution at all, but maybe managing like the overall unit. And finally, we have investigator 1. Investigator 1 is a Bureau of Prisons intelligence analyst, and he's the one who took the pictures of the notebook. His job is really to just spy on people, get intel, make sure the jail is running smoothly. So he's not like a CO at the jail. He sounds like some guy sitting behind a computer all day, watching the monitor, listening to calls, just doing all the weird little nerdy stuff. All right, so let's get into the timeline of this notepad and the sweep. All right, so this big sweep of the MDC was already planned in the summer of 2024. Before Diddy even got into jail. They were looking for contraband. Supervisor 2 was present on all these calls and meetings, but Supervisor 2 is not involved with the prosecution team. No members of the prosecution team was involved with the planning of the sweep, and they ain't even know about it. So, follow me. Summer, the jailhouse, everybody is planning to do this sweep. Now, fast forward a couple months in the future, Diddy's arrested, and on October 10th, 2024, Investigator 1 contacted the prosecution's supervisor 1, and said, hey, I've been spying on Sean. He's been engaging with witness intimidation. He's used coded language on the phones. The supervisor was like, I need transactional data. I want the defendant's email and phone list, as well as I need to see what's in his emails from the Bureau of Prisons. This is where Christy Slavic comes in. She said she served the Bureau of Prisons with a grand jury subpoena for non-attorney phone calls placed to and from the defendant. And she said since that time, she's been the member of the prosecution team primarily responsible for being the liaison between the bureaus of prison, including Investigator 1. So she's pretty much like, mind you, this team of prosecutors has like 5 or 6 people on it. So she's saying, I'm the one on the team who's been in contact with Investigator 1 as of recent, and I'm also the one on the team who's usually in contact with the jailhouse. She said, on or about October 13th, I spoke with Investigator 1, who provided an overview of some of the defendant's calls that had been monitored. Investigator 1 also detailed the unauthorized methods of communication the defendant was using, including using other inmates' PAC numbers, using 3-way calls, and using a third-party messaging service. So this investigator was like one of the main reasons his bail got denied, because he pretty much told the prosecution like, yo, he in here wilding out. All right, remember, that was on October 13th. Fast forward about 2 weeks later, on October 28th, the Bureau of Prisons and other federal agents began executing the planned sweep of the MDC. In October 28th, 29th, around that time when the sweep was underway, Supervisor 2 sent a mass email out to all of the AUSAs informing that right now there's a large-scale sweep underway and they may be contacted if contraband was seized and it's related to their case or the defendants that they're prosecuting. So they're pretty much setting the framework that this sweep was not about Diddy. Like his lawyer said, this sweep was about everybody. And if anybody got caught with contraband who had cases, all of the feds would have been notified. So the sweep started taking a little longer than normal, and they were thinking about not even searching the unit that Diddy was in, the east side of the jail. So Supervisor 1 and 2 began talking, and Supervisor 1 stated, hey, let the sweep continue as normal, and the whole jail should be searched like everyone talked about in the summer. They're saying nobody on the prosecution team directed how the search would take place, and nobody on the prosecution team even knew that Investigator 1 would be a part of the sweep. Everybody's on the Fed side said they were under the impression the search would be standard standard procedure. They didn't tell them to do no extra digging into Diddy. They were under the impression that everything was happening business as usual. They did not tell anybody to take any pictures or photographs. The prosecution team said they did not even find out that Investigator 1 was involved until November 3rd, when Investigator 1 called Christie and said, hey, I searched Diddy's bunk. Mind you, an email was already sent out and said, look, if they find contraband, y'all might be getting phone calls. So the investigator said, look, I took pictures of some notes in a notepad. This is what's in the notes. He said he also saw plans that Diddy had attempted to discredit possible witnesses and find dirt on people. Christie said she then told Investigator 1 to send all the notes to the filter team, and that is the end. So what Diddy's team has to prove now is that this was some kind of orchestrated hit out on Diddy to violate. It sounds like they were looking to yoke up any and everybody. And from my understanding, the unit that Diddy is in, it usually has like high profile individuals, people in protective custody. So I'm sure they was looking for dirt on anybody. Now, my question is, did Investigator 1 step outside of his duties? Was he doing something out of the ordinary by joining this suite? Is this a normal part of his job? If he says, hey, I do this all the time, then man, everything is fair. If he says, no, this was my first time doing this, then maybe Diddy does seem to be more of a target than others. Did Investigator 1 do something outside of the scope of his job? Was Diddy's rights violated? If the answer is yes, possibly what could happen is the case can be completely thrown out. The prosecution team could be thrown off and they could get a whole new set of prosecutors. Or the evidence that was found in that notebook can probably just be dismissed. The judge might say, hey, we just can't use that stuff. I think if the judge feels like something was done wrong, he'll probably just say, look, whatever y'all found in the notebook, it can't be used. It's not enough to throw away the whole trial, but hey, I guess we will see. So, do you feel that Diddy's rights were violated? This information does seem a little gray, but from what I'm hearing, it does look like maybe the prosecution team did not know about this raid, but they were in contact with Investigator 1, and Investigator 1 was really looking into Diddy extremely hard. So the question is, was Investigator 1 doing his job, or was he doing something that he wasn't supposed to do by focusing so hard on Diddy? Guess we'll find out whenever the judge responds. But yo, leave your comments below. Thanks for hanging out with me. Peace.